Oh, all right. Well, looks like we're already up and running. I guess that's good. Good morning, everybody. Today's the 4th of November, 2023. And, you know, as most of you know, I have studied Israelite tradition, culture, language, all of that, politics, everything. And I mean, from ancient times to the present. And while I'm still not an expert, I don't think anybody can possibly be an expert because history has been manipulated by so many different peoples and their agendas pushed forward that it's very hard to know exactly what did happen. But if we look at the situation as it is right now, I think you know that I'm very displeased, like anybody really cares, about what's happening over in the Middle East. And so I thought I'd come on this morning and just mention a couple of things. Uh, First of all, that there has been a terrorist, quote unquote, bombing of a Catholic church in the Philippines, and they're blaming it on Islamic extremists. Now, that might be, but I don't see the political advantage to Islam at this point in doing these types of attacks because of the nature of what's happening in the world right now and how people are starting to view Israel. All I'll say is I don't have any proof one way or the other. Of course, I don't. But I would be very wary of any type of terrorist attack that's blamed on Islam at this point. Not that they couldn't do it, because there are Islamic terrorists, just like there are Christian terrorists and Zionist terrorists, all of them. But I got to look at who benefits at this point in time. Right now, with the way Israel is being criticized, and rightly so, they need to do things that will prop them up, give them an excuse for what they do to get people to take their side, if you understand what I'm saying. So I would be very, very cautious about these terrorist attacks that are coming now, especially if they're hitting places like Christian churches or just anything really at this point, to quickly blame it on Islamist terrorists. We are finding out more and more that the official narrative coming out of the IDF and out of Netanyahu's government is full of deceits and lies, not the least of which is that they've known about this, despite their denials, that this thing was coming for a long time on October 7th. They knew about it. And it fits the agenda of the greater Israel and of also just getting rid of the Palestinians, which they're doing, of course, wholesale right now. Gaza is on the chopping block at this point, but it'll go to the West Bank even more so than it is right now. Anyway, my point is, don't get all convinced that every terrorist attack that occurs is coming from the Islamist extremists when they're blamed for it. Israel is looking bad, and they need to change the narrative to make people believe that what they're doing in Gaza, destroying the lives of thousands of men and mostly women and children. They're not. Where are the? I've got a question for you, Netanyahu and IDF. Where's your body count of the Hamas fighters? Where's your body count of the Hamas fighters? You don't have any. You're just killing wholesale across the board, men, women, and children, because they voted for Hamas. Yeah. Well, then because they voted for you, Netanyahu, then all of Israel should be destroyed. And because they voted for you, Biden, all of America should be destroyed. This is absurd. Yeah, I'm angry this morning. I am way, way angry. Yeah, by deception thou shalt do war. I know. That's what they do. And that proves who they are not. Because God doesn't lie. And his people don't lie. And there's nothing in the Torah that you can use to exonerate them for what they're doing now. I made a point this morning on a post I did that Israel put out that they had these pictures of these women who had been raped and killed, supposedly. And then it turns out that these are actually Kurdish female fighters that were killed during some type of an uprising in Iraq or in Syria or someplace like that, Turkey, wherever it was, from like 5 years ago. And they put this up and say these are Israeli women, and they weren't. Now, it's horrible still. It's horrible still, but that's the extent to which this is going too far. Because one of the commandments is, thou shalt not bear false witness. And to do so under the Torah can be a capital offense. And in this case, it would be. Because you're using it as a reason to murder other people. Which goes against, of course, the second commandment that I always talk about, lo ratzak. You cannot kill an innocent or righteous person. Now, that's the first thing. Be wary of these terrorist attacks that are trying to get you to have compassion for what Israel is doing, justification in Gaza right now. Because there is no justification for this. Which brings up another point. I'm very disturbed by the lack of action by the Arab countries. Any country for that matter. It's all talk at this point. Oh, there have been a few things, and I'm not asking for an escalation of violence. But what I'm sensing is that these Arab states, these Islamic states, and actually probably most of the rest of the world, with the exception of maybe Russia, are looking at the financial benefits that they will get if they just go along and just laissez-faire with it. Okay, well, if we don't get too involved, well, nobody likes the Palestinians anyway, which is kind of interesting because what does the scripture say about the righteous people? They will be despised and rejected of men. I know people want to put that just to Jesus Christ, but it has other applications. Well, who's despised and rejected right now? Even their friends are rejecting them. Even the Arab states are not coming to their defense. I find this reprehensible. Again, I don't want this thing to escalate, but the political pressure that we think we're seeing is a sham. Now, I'm not going to name the states that I'm talking about, the countries. You can look at it and you can figure it out yourself. There's a bunch of BS coming out of people, and they're doing absolutely nothing. Not really even any economic sanctions or anything like that. Really not anything at all. So my guess is that human life means nothing to them. Doesn't matter what human life it is. The Palestinians, the blacks in Africa, or even you Americans or Europeans, white ones, where the whole world out there, controlled by the powers that be, want to wipe out your race. Nobody's life is worth a damn to these people. And apparently, life isn't really worth anything to all of the Abrahamic religions out there and Abrahamic-based political countries. Apparently, it doesn't mean anything to them either. Because they're looking at this thing and they're saying, well, there's all this resources there in Gaza. We can do more commerce, we can make more money, we can do trade, we can do contracts. They're trading life for gain. That's the way I see it. Shame on you, all of you Arab states and every other country in the world that is holding back and not holding Israel to account for what they're doing there in Gaza. Maybe we do need a meteor or an asteroid. Just, I don't know what God's doing. What's he doing? Is he sitting on a beach somewhere sipping a martini? Because his people sure as hell are. One last thing before I go. Remember, I gave a presentation on Netanyahu in particular. It's about, 4, 5, 6 videos back on the live tab. And I told you what that name means in Hebrew when you break it down by Notarikon. It means God has given us to you. That's basically the concept. Now, there'll be people that will argue that no, they took that name because, oh, because they were Polish at first. It was a Polish name that they changed the family name when they went to Israel. And that oh no, it just means that God has given us a chance. No, 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 no. This was a messianic title on purpose. In the description box below, to prove my point, I have placed a story from Israeli 365 News. I don't know if they're pro-Israel. I don't know if they're run by the government or run by an opposition party. I don't care, but the facts are still correct. That the Chabad Lubavitcher Rebbe, Rabbi Schneerson, who the Lubavitchers considered to be the Messiah, but he died in the mid-90s. Kind of interesting, because that proves he's not, right? If you know anything about the whole Messiah thing that the Jews consider. And I'm not coming against all Jews now. I'm coming against the state of Israel and those who support this genocide, which is exactly what it is. So in the description box below, in the 90s, Schneerson met Netanyahu. I remember seeing this, and he whispered in Netanyahu's ear, but you could hear what he said in Hebrew. And this is what he said to him. He said, "You will be here and usher in the Messiah." Well, I can tell you that obviously Netanyahu took this to the next level, thinking he is the Messiah. Remember the coin, the sons of light and the sons of darkness, where Netanyahu and Trump were placed on there? And even lately, Netanyahu says they're the sons of light fighting the sons of darkness. They're the right, they're the good people fighting the evil. And by the very nature of what's going on, that's a lie. It's a manifest lie. Israel is violating Torah. And any rabbi, I don't give a damn who they are, that supports what Israel is doing, saying that that's what God wants, they are liars. They are putting their power in the world over the life of the people and God's will. I don't care what any of them say. And I've studied these people for a long time. On here, on YouTube, and on Twitter, I have actually promoted many of these rabbis who teach some pretty good stuff, even though a lot of the crap comes out of the Talmud. And they don't tell you the bad stuff in the Talmud. But I'm not coming off on all Jews. Every religion has its problems. The difficulty right now is that we're seeing happen to Palestinians what the Jews say happened to them throughout history, especially in 70 AD and in 1930s and 40s. How can you turn around and do to others what has happened to you and say that you're justified in it? You are not. Yeah, I'm pretty hot under the collar. When I saw that thing this morning about the Philippine Catholic Church being bombed, I went, no way. Islamists have no reason to, unless there's just a small group there that doesn't know anything about what's going on. But I have a feeling that this is going to happen much, much more. Because Israel is suffering right now from a lot of concern around the world that what they're doing is wrong, and so they need to change everybody back to fearing the Islamists and their desire. I saw this too, that a person put up this morning a thing with some kids, some Islamic kids in a school, I guess, talking about death to Israel and death to America and all that. Yeah, well, why don't you look in the Talmud, you dumb shits, and see what it says about you? That they're going to take you out because you're the beasts of the field. Not just goyim, you're beasts of the field, and they're going to take you out. They're going to kill you, and they have a right to kill you, your wives, and your children. Everybody. So that they can be on top. Now, again, a lot of Jews don't go there, even though it's in the Talmud, and even though that's a lot of the interpretation of especially the first and second chapters of Genesis. I'll tell you what. The Abrahamic religions suck right now. There isn't one that's worth a shit or the powder to blow them to hell. And if you think, any of you, think that you're justified in permitting what's going on in Israel right now, in Gaza, because those are God's people that are fighting for their God-given territory some 3,500 years ago, I think you're getting tickets straight to hell. And that's where you're going to end up. That goes for all you rabbis, goes for Netanyahu, goes for the IDF, it goes for anybody, even people in the United States. Senator Marsha Blackburn, you ignoramus. Ignoramus. Then I had a person this morning come on my X account and say, gee, why aren't you talking about the spraying in the skies? How come you never talk about that? Ladies and gentlemen, all of you who followed me, how often have I talked about the problem with the stratospheric aerosol injections, what's normally called chemtrails? I've done dozens of videos on that. And this person, I slipped and called him a name, if it's a him, says, why don't you cover this? Yeah, it's a danger. They're attacking us on every level, in the food, in the water, in the air, giving us injections of poison, telling us falsehoods so that we'll support genocide. And he wanted me to change the subject right now and talk about chemical spraying, the chemtrails. So I said to him, if that's so important to you, and I'm not saying it isn't important, why don't you do a YouTube video on it and give out information where people can go get information on it, like I have already done? Am I trying to defend myself? No, I'm just mad right now, angry that the human race is this fucking stupid. Elon Musk better get his head out of his ass, too. He might be playing a political game in all this. I don't know. Okay, you can see I'm very distraught this morning. I just can't believe what's happening. And again, I don't want to see an escalation there. But I smell rats all across the Abrahamic pedigree. Even Isaiah, here I am quoting, Isaiah, but he said all tables are full of vomit, that no place is clean. Go look it up, Isaiah 28. And absolutely all of these Abrahamic religions, even the Christians, even the very best of them, are disgusting anymore. That's all I got. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll tell you what, if you're trying to live a righteous life, if you're even trying to, because it's damn hard these days, you've only got a couple of options. And I've said it before. Prep, pray, stay out of the way, get out of the way the very best that you can. I know it's a spiritual battle. I know that. But knowing that isn't going to save your life. And that's another thing. I might as well bring this up. When I was taking my Kabbalah courses, Hebrew courses, and I did that for a reason. People say, Roy, you're a Kabbalist? Look, I've talked before about there's a good one and a bad one. Okay, so let's just put that aside. The point is what the rabbi said to me. He quoted a verse out of Jeremiah, and I forget exactly where it is. But this is what he said. God doesn't give a shit about your body. He only cares about your soul. Think about that for a minute. A lot of Christians say the same bullshit. You don't care about the body. You only care about your soul. Save your soul. Your soul is your body and your spirit. It says so in Genesis 1 and 2. But they want to minimize your life here. Oh, it's going to be okay because you're going to be raptured, or you're going to go to heaven with Jesus and sit with Jesus for eternity. Really? Well, then why? Why? Is there a commandment, thou shalt not murder, lo ratzak? If God doesn't give a fuck about your body, then why would he give a commandment not to kill it? I'm sick of you all of you. I'm done. Bye.